Well. It's Friday. That's right. And you know what that means, man. It's been a heck of a week here on hashtag Rise and Grind. And to be able to wrap it up with this incredible superhuman Tony Memmel, I can't even wait to bring him to you. So get on up in here, grab all your friends, gather everybody up, get your coffee cups if that's what you got to do. Whatever you got to do to get rocking and rolling this morning, let's go. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? See, there's no excuse for you not pushing yourself to the next level. In order for you to create a new you must have a new mindset. When teams come together, we can create things that are greater than the sum of all of their parts. Good morning and welcome to hashtag Rise and Grind. I am your host, Glenn Lundy. I am a husband to one, a father to seven, and the creator of what is going to be the #1 most watched morning show in the world. It is 5:30 a.m. and I hope that you are ready to rise and grind. Good morning. How are you, my friends? How are you, my friends? Today is Friday. That's right. Today is Friday, July 24th, 2020. And what's crazy is today is the very first and the very last time it'll ever be Friday, July 24th, 2020. So I want to make sure we make the absolute most of this absolutely incredible, and I mean absolutely incredible day. Now, listen, I've been doing this a lot of times. This is episode number 664, and there are some things that I see and some trends that I can see sometimes when we're battling the gods over there at Facebook. So I can already tell that Facebook is making this a little bit difficult for some of your friends to find. So do me a favor, tag some people that you know are looking for the show this morning. Let's get them in here on hashtag Rise and Grind. Listen, I hope you had an awesome, amazing, powerful, life-changing, and transformative week. I do. I hope that that's what you had, because I can tell you that's what I had this week. It's been a star-studded week here on hashtag Rise and Grind, and today is no different. Today we're going to have singer, speaker, guitarist, teacher, Mr. Tony Memmel on here today. Incredible human. Him and I have been jamming it up in the green room, waiting for all you guys to wake up and get up in here for the last 15 minutes. And he's just an awesome human. So I can't wait to bring him to you here in just a second. But first, a quick visit from our friend, Heather Parody, to help wrap up this amazing series that we've been in this week called Your Network is Your Net Worth. It's been incredible. Heather, close us down.
Good morning, Rise and Grind. My name's Heather Parody. Super cool to see you this morning. And you might be like, girl, why are you in your kitchen cutting vegetables when you're supposed to be on Glenn's show? That's a good question. But you know I gotta multitask. I'm a very busy lady. So I figured I would just cut some veggies while we chat this morning. So, leveling up your network in order to increase your net worth. And that has a lot more to do than just money, right? Side note, do you guys peel your cucumbers before you cut them? I grew up where we left the skin on. My husband, his whole family peeled it off. Comment, let me know what you think. So one of the things that comes up, I need to stop waving this knife around. One of the things that comes up with this idea of leveling up your network is this fear sometimes of hurting people's feelings? Or how do I, introduce the kind of people into my life that I want to have without, abandoning the people who are in my life? Anybody ever had that kind of thought or fear? I know it's come up for me, and it's come up for many people that I've talked to. We want to level up our network, but how do we do that without being a jerk to people in our lives? Well, I am going to give you a fitness analogy. Not because I'm fit, because homegirl about to eat a cookie at 5:30 a.m. Praise him. But my husband's in really good shape, and it's annoying. So let's talk about that real quick. Sometimes when we think about getting in shape, we think about all the stuff we need to eliminate, right? I need to stop eating cookies at 5:30 in the morning. I need to stop having that incredible, half a container of creamer in my coffee. All this stuff that I've got to cut out. But sometimes what's easier with fitness, especially when you're getting started, is focusing in on all the good stuff you need to add in. All the healthy stuff, the vegetables, filling your plate with color, drinking more water. And sometimes it's easier because you think about what you're adding in, and what happens is some of the stuff that you don't need in it, like in your diet, naturally starts to go out because your stomach's fuller and you don't start craving that stuff as much, and it just kind of naturally starts to take the place of what's not supposed to be there. And so with our networks, sometimes you don't have to necessarily go in, and sometimes it's appropriate, but you don't always have to go in and be like, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. You're not the type of person I want to become. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But instead, the more life you add into your life, the more personal development, the more good friends, the kind of people that you want to be around, the more you start introducing life, health into your life, some of these things just naturally start to push away. And again, there's always going to be times, sometimes for difficult conversations, but sometimes as we level up, as we start surrounding ourselves with the right kind of people, the relationships just naturally start to fall where they need to be. So, we sometimes got to focus on eating more carrots than sometimes eating less cookies. Cookies are still good. Hope you guys have an awesome morning. Love you. Have a fantastic day.
There's not a ton of us, that get up this early and grind like this. But for those of us that do, get together and grind early in the morning, I thought, here's a little window of opportunity. I'll jump in here 5:30 a.m. And just get each other going. Dude, that's some powerful stuff from Heather, dude. She's so spot on, right? Making sure you're just filling it with enough of the right people, and some of the wrong people are just going to drop on off the back. My man Brian Benstock talked about it earlier in the week, right? Being careful, like with your in the theater, you got your people that matter the most are right up close, sitting in the front row, and push all those other ones all the way to the back. It's been like this all week, man. Just bombs being dropped by all kinds of incredible humans. And so I do want to say thank you to everybody that was on this week. We had Brian Benstock that was on Monday. Rob and Crystal were on Monday. Liza Myers-Borges, David Villa. Of course, we had Shaka Dyson, Scott Simons, Brian Hess, which I think Scott Simons and Sean Hayes, who was also on, are in like a competition. Sean Hayes' episode had the most views, and so he's like trying to share it out. And then Scott was sharing yesterday. You know how those guys are. So they're trying to get the most views on their stuff. Judge Graham, thank you to you. Darian, of course, Michael Cirillo, Heather Parody was on Wednesday, which was incredible. Danelle Delgado, my man Evan, and then we also had Brad Wise yesterday. So I mean, it's just an incredible week powerful stuff. And so what I want to do is wrap up the week bringing in Tony Memmel, and him and I are going to talk. We're going to chat. We're going to jam. We're going to jive. Before I do want to say good morning to Laura Berman, Jesse Miller, Eric Burns. Dude, there's a bunch of people up in here, Tony. Like, there's a bunch, buddy. There's a bunch of people up in here, and I can't wait to introduce you to all of them. Like Gail Beecraft, she's in here. Stephen Kuhn. Stephen Kuhn lives like somewhere on the other side of the world, man. I don't even know what time it is for him, dude, but he's in here. Eddie Brown, Angie Lane, my man Don Sankey, Heather's in here. Heather Parody, she's stopped in to join us this morning. Michael Guthrie, Jesse Miller, Rodney Hatfield, John Coltonborn, Robin Wilshons is here. I saw Sean Hayes. I saw Brian Benstock, Liza Myers Borges, the whole crew. I mean, everybody's here to learn and be introduced to my man, Mr. Tony Memmel. Tony, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Glenn. Thank you so much for hosting me today on your show. It's a joy to get here and hashtag rise and grind with you this morning.
I love it, dude. Hashtag rise and grind. My man Melvin Rodriguez is in here. Jesse Ican, Sparkman as well. So Tony, when you pull your stuff up, like you pull it up, you're like, okay, I'm looking up. I got Tony up in here. And then you pull it up and it says this. It says Tony is a singer, a speaker, a guitarist, and a teacher. But what I want to know before we dive into a lot of that is obviously you've heard the series, Your Network is Your Net Worth. It's what we've been talking about all week long. So when you hear that sentence, your network is your net worth, like, what does that say to you? How does that resonate with you? And maybe what's your experience been with that particular truth?
Absolutely. Well, once again, thank you so much for hosting me. It's a joy to be here on your show. And I want to thank, you said that Heather Parody is watching this morning. She is the one that actually connected us. And so I'm really grateful for that. Thanks for watching, Heather, and for this initial introduction. And when I think about your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth, what I think about is, in my career, the opportunities that I've had to, and the direction that it's gone from starting out as a touring singer-songwriter and just trying to get out on the road and reach as many people as possible, which then started leading to Facebook messages and phone calls and emails from people all over the country especially who identified with my mission of trying to reach people, especially in the physically different and disabled world. And so what ended up being initially people who would come out and see me perform at a venue, for example, ended up inviting me into their homes to stay and for lengthy times on the road, and ended up being more of a family. So my network of what were initially fans, quote unquote, ended up being my people who welcomed me, like I said, right into their homes. We had meals together around their tables, and so that is really special to me, and it's a really core element of what it means to be to me to be a singer, a speaker, a teacher, and a guitarist. Because it's without my network, I wouldn't be able to do that how I do.
Yeah, and I think that's super cool that you touched on that, right? Like, I think about it, you being a performer and really reaching and impacting, and then I picture traveling, right? I travel a lot for business, but I've never, I'm not talented artistically in any way, shape, or form, but I travel a lot for business, and that's got to be like confidence building and reassuring when you can go and like share homes with people and know that you're like welcome, versus kind of popping out of the hotel, running over and trying to perform, right? Like I'm assuming that brings you to another level, knowing that you are there performing and surrounded by family and people that love you.
When somebody invites you to come and visit their school, to have a meal around their table, to visit their church or the hospital that they've received special care from, there's a different element than waiting in a green room and playing in a club or even in a larger venue that is really intimate and personal. And so those kinds of friendships and family relationships that develop with those specific families are really core. And we text each other. I check in to know how their kids are doing in school, and you build something stronger than that original connection of being a fan is now something, we're deep friends.
Yeah, super cool, man. Super. So I want to get to know you better so you and I can become deep friends. Thank you, Heather. Parody, for hooking us up. So, man, let's talk about this. So, you have this passion and this heart, sharing music and inspiring, and especially with a focus on people with the words that you used were like a disability of some sort. So let's talk about that. Obviously, as you're talking, we see we're missing a hand on one side over there. So share your story with us, Tony. What's going on there?
Sure. So I was born way, way back in 1985. And my parents didn't know that my parents didn't know that I was going to be born with a hand difference. And now you can see them already in the ultrasounds in many cases before babies are even born. But way back then they didn't know. And so from the first few moments of my life, they were wondering all these things that parents wonder about, but sort of amplified in even what I would call even like a worrisome way, and even what they would call worried. So, would I be able to play sports or be in music? Would I be bullied in school? Would I find love in my life? All these things that just sort of snowballed. And
Yeah,
it was just
sure.
a few weeks after I was born, the pastor at the church that my parents attended would visit new moms at home, and he came and visited my mom, and he said, Katie, have you ever stopped to think that Tony might be able to do amazing things with this difference through God? And it might be
Mm,
something that you don't have to be fearful of, but that you can teach from and grow from and learn from in ways that you can't even imagine yet.
mm,
And she said, honestly, that wasn't the way I was thinking, but I think it was this paradigm shift in her life, which ultimately was a paradigm shift in my life, because
yeah,
from that day forward, they really pushed me to, do the same chores that other kids did. I had to practice tying my shoes. I had to practice, I learned to swim and play baseball. And it was music, though, that really called to me the most. And so as a teenager, when I was about 13 years old,
right,
I had a friend from school named Max. And Max had such talent for music that I would even go so far as to call it a gift,
right.
because he could hear music off the radio, and before the song was even done playing, he could play it on a guitar. And I
Yeah.
thought, that is the coolest thing in the world. And so that's what sparked my journey to want to learn how to play the guitar, to go through the next steps, which I can get into as well, but I don't want to ramble here.
Well, and I mean, there's a lot in what you just said right there. I hope that you guys are awake this morning. I hope we warmed you up enough. We played some music. Heather made you laugh. We said hi to you. All of those things. So I hope your ears are wide open to what he's saying here. Go. I want to take the audience all the way back to what you said. So the power of words, my friends, and the paradigm shift that they can create. So when that pastor poured into your mom and said, have you ever thought of the amazing things that he can do with this difference? Like, that moment right there is so incredibly powerful and impactful, man. That's why we have to be careful. What we say matters. The words we pour into our children matter. The words you're saying to your spouse matter. And even more importantly, the words you're saying to yourself right up here every single day can ultimately shift that paradigm. So in your title, in your banner, Tony, it says singer, speaker, guitarist, teacher. All actions, all verbs, all things that you do, and all super cool. So put those aside for just a second. So who is Tony Memmel?
Tony Memmel is built first and foremost on a foundation of Christian faith.
Mm,
That's what everything else stems from. Everything else is built upon. That's the firm foundation that any goodness in my life is built upon. And so from there, it's my family, those core values that were instilled in me, that paradigm shift, and those hard work ethics, those stick to itiveness and resilience. Those things were, I believe, instilled by my parents and my cousins who pushed me in athletics and just basic common skills that people acquire. And
sure.
then my family, my wife, and my little boy Theodore, we call him Theo. He's 20 months old. He is really teaching me so much about what it means to be a man, to help him grow into one. Even I'm learning this long view approach to raising him that is really shaping above my foundation as well, into what I understand it to mean to build on that Christian foundation that I said before, and how to start that from scratch with a new human being.
Right.
And then from there, it is more of those professional elements. My singing and guitar playing and speaking and teaching are all things that, especially music, that's the element, or the thing that really builds toward greater conversations, especially when I visit schools and churches and hospitals all over the world.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the pyramid that I would describe as far as who Tony Memmel is.
I love that, man. You are a man who is built on a solid foundation. He's got his
Amen.
priorities in place, understands family first. And I love how you also mentioned hardworking and resilient, right? Super powerful values that we all need to carry. I think that sometimes get missed because it's not just have faith and sit back and assume that all's going to go well. We got to put in some work. We got to take some actions, and we got to go out there, and we got to be resilient, because life's going to come at you, and it's going to come at you hard. So obviously, having one hand, you've had some challenges along the way. So walk us through, like, what did that look like for you? Some of maybe the challenges, and what are some of the words that, I guess, where I want to go with this. So we all have challenges. We all have struggles. Yours are going to be independent, but I believe that some of us, it's the words and the conversations that go on in our head that ultimately determine how we're going to get through those. So I'd like to dive into your head just a little bit, and maybe travel through some of the challenges you had early on, and how were you able to, and what words were you saying to yourself that you were able to push through those challenges to where now you do really see it as you've always seen it as a gift, but you know what I mean? Now you're using it to propel and draw even more greatness out of others.
Well, okay, thank you very much for saying that, first of all. But I think that the story that would really benefit the Rise and Grind audience the most is my story of actually learning to play guitar, because so much of what you just outlined is really wrapped up in that story.
Perfect.
So after after I was really inspired by my friend Max, that's not where it stopped for me, because inspiration is fleeting and motivation is fleeting. It's really about that discipline and that hard work that comes after that, so that you can actually harness inspiration and motivation when it strikes. So for me, it was after that initial strike, I went to the library and I wanted to find every single book I could find about guitars. I wanted to know who made guitars. I wanted to know who played guitars. I wanted to know what kind of wood they were made out of, what kind of strings they had, what kind of electronics are in the inside that make them loud, so you can hear one guitar on a single stage in front of 30,000 people. All of that really captured my imagination and my interest. And as I flipped through this stack of books, I saw 3 pictures that really caught my eye. Okay. Even though almost everybody who plays guitar plays like this, where they strum with their right hand and hold the instrument with the left, there were 3 pictures in rock and roll history that I found that looked more like this, where they strum with their left hand and hold the instrument with their right. So a few people you might have heard of. There was somebody named Paul McCartney who was pretty good at guitar. Yeah, right. There was another named Kurt Cobain that was pretty good at guitar.
I know that guy.
Yeah, and there was another named Jimi Hendrix.
Okay,
so
yeah,
all of a sudden
Jimmy.
I had sort of these, at least how they play, the structural models of where I could bring my guitar playing. And then from there, I went to the store to look for a left-handed guitar, and they were so rare that when you imagine a giant wall in a guitar store full of guitars, different shapes and colors and sizes, I went up and there was one left-handed guitar. Wow. And I got excited when I saw it until I flipped the little price tag over and it said $600. And I was 13 years old.
Right.
So my next step was, okay, how do I actually get a guitar into my house? So I went to my mom and dad and I said, wouldn't it be awesome if you bought me an electric guitar?
Right.
And they had a lot of questions for me and basically just said, like, that's not something we're able to do. And if this is something that you're really serious about, we think you should really work for it. So I got my first 2 jobs to save up for that guitar.
Nice.
And so I learned how to become a soccer referee, and I babysat for kids in my neighborhood until I saved and saved, didn't buy video games or magazines or chocolate. I went to the back to that store and picked out my new guitar.
That's
And then it
awesome.
was just taking any materials I could find around my house. I filled an empty shoebox full of supplies because when I made my first sounds on the guitar, it was so quiet that I wanted to sound like what it sounded like on the radio. I wanted to sound like the Tony Memmel signature sound I could hear in my head. So
Sure.
it was so quiet that I thought, what if I could build a special adaptive cast on my arm? And so I went around my house with anything I could find that was household, that was cheap, that was simple. And I built a cast on my arm that took me 8 years of trial and error.
Wow.
And I built it out of a really tough, extra strong, extra sticky duct tape called Gorilla Tape. And that's
Right.
still what I do today. And so when I think of
Wow.
that whole arc, what ended up happening for me was that the things that I was working on, I had this sort of end goal in mind that I was going to be a rockin' guitarist where when you heard me on the radio, you wouldn't know if I had one hand, two hands, or three hands. I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be a really good guitarist,
Mm.
period. But what ended up happening is all those years of trial and error, all those casts that didn't work, all the stuff that I might have considered a failure in the moment ended up being things that shaped my purpose through the years. Because now all those things are what help me to teach today, to help other adaptive guitar players to make music a part of their lives. And and to actually instruct the next generation of people with physical, cognitive, and emotional differences to make guitar possible. And
Right.
so it's really amazing, those things that you don't even realize you're learning in the moment that really are things that shape your life and others' lives later on.
Right. Dude, that's beautiful, man. That is beautiful. You're 100% right. Like all of what I was curious of in one story, unloaded, unpacked, right? So let's break this down, my morning friends, my 5:30 a.m.ers. Let's break this down, right? So he first gets inspired and immediately goes into research, right? Let's research, let's study, let's learn all that we can. Now, what do you think's happening in his mind, right? And let's ask Tony, since we're talking about him like he's not in the room or something. But what do you think? At times I'm sure there's got to be moments where some doubt is creeping in. Is there any doubt creeping in as you're going through this process?
Sure. To start with the research stage, something I always encourage people in is people can get stuck in research. So it's important to get that information and then act is the
Mm,
first thing I would say. And even if it's just the first elementary steps, but taking something and putting it into action from what you're learning is the most key part of actually doing that educational step. And then from there, the things that really challenged me along the way were actually, I demonstrate this cast that I build on my arm. It takes me like a minute to build now, but
right.
I breezed over the fact that it took 8 years to build the first time.
Amazing.
So there were many challenges. There were so many days where it would have been so much easier to put my guitar back in its case, slide it under the bed, put it in the corner, whatever, and just not play it anymore. That would have been the easy thing to do, but it wouldn't have been the right thing for me to do. It
Mm,
was too much a part of who I was really aiming to be. I wanted to be in music. I wanted to write and play my own songs. And so in order to do that, I learned really early on from maybe probably from my hand difference and from my parents and from that stick to itiveness and resilience that we talked about before, that things that are really worth doing in life are often very difficult. So
yeah.
music was not easy for me. It was really, really hard.
Right. Right. Yeah. Really, really hard. 8 years to build this thing. So the doubts are there, but he's washing those doubts out by action, right? By action and just continually filling the mind. I mean, the things that we focus on is what we bring to truth. If you focus on it long enough, if you persist long enough, you will ultimately triumph and succeed. Like that's just real. That's real life. And so I love how you broke that down. You really went into the research study side, persisted. I like how you asked and your parents were like, nope. You're gonna have to go do this on your own. That's my kind of parents right there, right? And so you don't take that wall. You're not like, nope, okay, well now I'm not gonna. You're like, I'm gonna go get 2 jobs and I'm gonna babysit and I'm gonna do whatever it is that I gotta go, gotta go do. I'm gonna go referee soccer and I'm gonna save up my money and I'm gonna do those things. And that in itself, right? Discipline. Now we're talking about self discipline, right? Managing your money, having a target, having a goal, and doing the things that you got to do to make that happen in your world. I love that. And then you bring it around full circle. Now you've gone through the 8 years, you went through the 2 jobs, you raised all the money, you made the sacrifices, you washed out all the doubt, you did all the research, you did all of that to bring this to pass. And then once you got there, you're like, okay, now you come with me. You come with me. You come with me. Now you're reaching back and you're teaching and you're taking that and passing it to another generation of human beings, man. That's the true. We talk on this show about, we rise every day with intention and purpose so that we can evolve into the absolute best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be, ultimately so that we can go out and make an impact in other people's lives. And the best part is we get to do it all together. And you just mapped that process out in your story: intention, purpose, right? Evolution, and ultimately using it for the good of others, not just for self. Tony, dude, that's freaking strong, bro. You got me jacked up, man.
Thanks, Glenn. I really appreciate that, brother.
Dude, I love it. So now you've got the music and you've got the cast that works and all of those things, and you're using this now as like a catalyst for change. So let me ask you, in your opinion, why does it work so well as a catalyst for change? Like why choose that particular vehicle to impact other people's lives?
I've seen this work the most and in pretty extraordinary ways. So one of the opportunities that I've had as a teacher is to travel all around the world. I've been to 17 countries in the last 4 years, working with the United States Department of State and our embassies and consulates around the world to bring cultural diplomacy programming to different nations. And so what I've seen is whether somebody knows the language, whether somebody knows language at all, whether no matter how big the cultural gap might be between myself and somebody I'm meeting, that music is something that can bridge a conversation to start with in the first place. So as I mentioned before, that music becomes this tool because I've yet to meet somebody in all of those travels around the world who doesn't enjoy some kind of music.
Right.
And so sometimes it's trying to learn a song in a different culture in a new language. Sometimes it's sharing my music and my songs in those cultures and seeing them and trying to teach the language through it. That really kind of, like I said, it just starts with this thing that we all enjoy, and then you can build on that with broader conversations, with more education, with building bridges.
Yeah, just building the bridges, opening or closing those communication gaps, right? We all see it, dude. I got lots of babies. I got kids everywhere, man. I think we're going on number 8. And every single one of them, man, I've always wondered, I'm like, we as human beings just inherently dance. Like music just moves us. It doesn't matter what age the kid is. It's not a learned thing. It's not a trained thing or anything like that. Dude, my kids just start moving. They hear a commercial or they hear music somewhere, or we're playing, Rockin' K-Love in the house or whatever it is. And it's always got them moving, man. You're right. It's a truly powerful thing. So, Tony, I could talk to you all day, but of course we, everybody's on morning routines and they got to get to work and things like that. And I want to respect it, your time as well as theirs. But I do want to do 2 things. One, I want to make sure to ask everybody that's watching, whether you're watching live or on replay, whenever we have a guest that joins us here on #Rise and Grind, the best way that we can honor that guest is to connect with them, right? Build a relationship with them, connect with them, follow them, help support them, but also just make sure you hit that share button so that we can get this out, so that we can introduce Tony to as many people as humanly possible. If you haven't done that already, I truly would appreciate you doing so. And then, of course, to to all my rising grinders. You know what we do. Blow Tony up today. Send him encouraging messages. Thank him for being on the show. It means the world to us. He's in Nashville, Tennessee. It was 4:15 in the morning when him and I started this thing. So least we can do is make sure we shower him with the love and appreciation that we have for him being on the show. So with that said, Tony, what we're going to do is I'm going to hand you the microphone real quick, and I'm going to put you on top of a mountain. All right. So you're on top of a mountain, and all of civilization is at the bottom of the mountain, and they're just cheering, right? Tony, 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 Tony. And they're cheering for you, right? And you've got this mic, and they tell you you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes to drop something on them, practical application wisdom that they can apply in their life today, this week, this month, this year. What are you going to tell them?
Well, first of all, I would raise my hands with all that praise from that audience and say, and try and demonstrate where that really belongs, because
Amen.
Everything in my life goes up to God first. And then from there, with any wisdom that he would allow me to magnify and speak into his truth and in his name is what I would try and say next. So to this very kind audience, I would say, thank you so much for honoring me with your praise today. And I believe that you have a purpose, that you were designed by a God who knows every single hair on your head. And so even as we go through the times that we're in right now, that also must mean that we are designed for a time and place, and that your unique gifts and talents and abilities are so important to hone, to craft, to develop, and then to share. So wherever you are, whether you love math or sports or science or music, or you want to be a writer or a doctor, whatever it happens to be, all of those things are wonderful goals. All of them take a tremendous amount of work. And my hope is that you will keep going, keep trying, even on the toughest days, because those toughest days are the things that ultimately shape our character, shape our perseverance. And my hope is that you will magnify with those gifts and those talents and abilities the God who gave those to you. Amen.
Amen. Dude, Tony, you are an amazing human being, brother. Clearly, uniquely made by the God of the universe, the God that made everything, made you to be the best version of yourself you can possibly be. And you're living it out, man. You're living it outwardly, and it's making such a massive impact on your friends, your family, and everyone you come in contact with. And this morning, you've made an impact not just on all my friends that have joined us this morning, but definitely on me. And I absolutely love you for it, man.
Glenn, what a joy to be on your show today. Thank you for your thoughtfulness and this wonderful conversation. I'm so overjoyed to be a part of the Rise and Grind community. It's a joy to be here.
Dude, we're super, super, super glad to have you. Hang tight in the green room just a second. I'm going to say goodbye to the rest. I'll come right back to you. That was my new best friend in the world, Tony Memmel, right here on hashtag Rise and Grind. Man, powerful stuff. Powerful week overall. Really refreshing. I hope it was refreshing for you. It was refreshing for me. If you missed any episodes, make sure you go back. I usually say if you need some more, you can go to glennlundy.com. But in this case, I'd say go back to this week, man. Truly powerful connections, powerful episodes, and Tony really just topped it off with the truth, man. All glory to God. It's been incredible. You have unique and amazing gifts, just like everybody that's been on my show this week, and I hope that you will continue to push through and use those gifts to make an impact. Thanks for joining us here on hashtag Rise and Grind. Enjoy your weekend. Have a big, phenomenal, fabulous weekend. And then come back here again on Monday morning, if you don't mind, and join me again at 5:30 a.m. on hashtag Rise and Grind. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? see, there's no excuse for you not pushing yourself to the next level. In order for you to create a new you must have a new mindset. When teams come together, we can create things that are greater than the sum of all of their parts.